Northwest Specialty Hospital first started as a day surgery back in 1984. We then built a hospital in Post Falls, Idaho in 2002. At Northwest, our North Star is community. We want to help as many community members as possible, and we also want to employ as many community members as possible. No matter how big we get or how many clinics we add, we are always going to be patients first at Northwest Specialty Hospital.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the 2024 North Idaho College Town Hall Political Forum. I am Lindsay Allen. I will be your host for the evening. The Hagedon Media Group, Coeur d'Alene Press, Northwest Specialty Hospital, and the Joint Chamber Public Policy Committee, comprised of Coeur d'Alene, Post Falls, Hayden, and Rathdrum, are the presenting sponsors of tonight's Town Hall Forum. The forum will be live streamed on the Coeur d'Alene Press's Facebook page, and the final recording will be made available starting next Wednesday at www.cdapress.com. We are grateful to have you all here to engage in this crucial discussion about NIC's future. We are pleased to welcome all 6 candidates running for trustee positions at NIC tonight. These candidates will have the opportunity to share their vision and respond to important questions that affect the future of the institution. Remember, the NIC race is the only race on the 2024 ballot that Kootenai County residents have the opportunity to vote for all 3 zones. So before we begin, I'd like to go over a couple of rules of engagement for tonight's forum. I would like to ask the audience to please silence your phones. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for their opening statement and 1 minute for a closing statement. Candidates will also have 2 minutes to respond to each of our 10 questions. Our moderators, North Idaho College Student Body President Joseph Moran and Vice President Blake Sanchez, will alternate in asking the questions. Audience members, please hold applause and comments until the end of the forum. We encourage respectful behavior at all times. Please remember that this is not a debate, and candidates will not be allowed time to respond to one another. So please make sure to use your time to answer the questions as thoroughly as possible. We are here to have a meaningful discussion that benefits the community and informs your decisions. Thanks again for joining us. Let's begin with candidate introductions. So to begin, each candidate will introduce themselves and, more importantly, share why they are running for a trustee position. Candidates, please remember you have 2 minutes for your introduction. We will start with candidate 1, Bill Lyons.
Thank you so much. I want to thank everybody here for the time that they're sharing from their homes to come here to listen to us 6. I think we got some pretty intelligent people here. I know we do, as a matter of fact. I come here humbly to introduce myself as a candidate that's running for Zone 3, obviously. But I came as a way of just running for NIC because I believe in that particular teaching realm. I came from junior college background. My degree is in associate's degree in electrical engineering, and I grew that into sales and management, and I felt like I did pretty good there. And I just have a firm love for what junior colleges, community colleges, and the trades do for our young kids today. My main reason for here is I see there's a possibility that sometimes 4-year degrees and 4-year colleges aren't for our children. They somehow go into colleges and they get indoctrinated a little bit. And sometimes it takes them 6 years to find out, this is where I'm at. They come out with a degree, maybe not where they started from, and they've got hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt, and they can't find a job. And that is not a good thing to have for our kids today. And that's why I believe that NIC has done great in what they've done in the past. They almost have 100% completion of people when they graduate have jobs, especially in the trades. Some of them have jobs before they even graduate. That's commendable. And we've got the best teachers, we've got the best facilities up here, and we've got history. So I'm here to keep that and support that. And that's it.
Okay, candidate 2, Rick Durbin.
Okay, I'm going to apologize up front because I'm about as smooth as 10 miles of bumpy road. And this is probably the hardest job interview I've ever had for a volunteer position. So I'll get that out right away. My name is Rick Durbin. I actually grew up here in North Idaho, graduated from Post Falls in 1989. Graduated from NIC. I could probably go on record of being one of the longest students at NIC because I utilized that facility. That was the launching pad for my career and my success. I have an associate's degree from NIC, so I'm an alumni. I have one son that graduated from NIC, and I have a son that's currently going to NIC. I went on to finish my bachelor's degree and my master's degree in organizational learning and leadership. And education is my passion. I believe that without that, there is no moving forward. And so the main reason why I'm running is simply because of the accreditation issue. I have such a passion for NIC, I couldn't fathom our community not having NIC for generations to come. And I believe that it is not the fault of NIC. As Mr. Lyons said, NIC is great, and they've done a fantastic job, and they have an amazing foundation. This is a result of the board majority, and that's why I'm here, to make sure that we have the continuation of our college for generations to come. So I'm short and painless, so thank you.
Candidate number 3, Eve Knudsen.
Thank you, Lindsay. Good evening, everyone. I am Eve Knudsen. I'm a lifelong resident of Kootenai County. I've been a successful businesswoman in the area for over 30 years. I've served on numerous boards, including the Coeur d'Alene Area Economic Development Corporation, known as Jobs Plus, and other boards, but even more importantly than that, I'm an employer here in Kootenai County. You know, since the 30s, NIC has just been a jewel in our community in being able to provide education for students in our community, helping them to become educated, skilled, trained, and able to go into the workforce and find employment. I know I rely on these graduates from NIC to fill the openings that I have, and so many of my friends do. Business can grow here and expand here or even relocate here because there is an avenue for them to have ready, trained workforce. So I am running for the position of trustee because I believe that my experience in the numerous boards that I've served here for the state and nationally demonstrate that I understand the role of a trustee or a board member in helping the president and their constituents fulfill their mission. Thank you.
Candidate number 4, Greg McKenzie.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here, and thanks for paying attention. My name is Greg McKenzie. I am a current board member on the Board of Trustees at North Idaho College. This will be finishing up my 4th year on the board, and I'm speaking as an individual tonight, expressing personal opinions and not speaking on behalf of the board tonight. That's important to say. So if you want to learn more about me, I have a website called McKenzieforNIC.com. Please give it a visit, and they're able to learn more information, able to reach out to me and contact me. I'm 37 years old. I've been a research engineer for the U.S. Navy for over a decade now. And I'm the only candidate running this season that is still on the board. And I hope to still stay and serve the community on the board. So that's why I initially stepped forward. I love North Idaho College, I love our community, and I had a wonderful experience in college. And my getting involved at the North Idaho College Board of Trustees has been a wonderful experience. Being able to ensure other people's experience in college time is wonderful too. And looking at where the North Idaho College is now to where it was 4 years ago, if you recall, there was 3 years of consecutive tax increases. They were closing multiple outreach centers, and 3 years of tax, and they were also closing programs. And now we're opening programs. Dr. Swain just opened the gunsmithing course, and if by all metrics, the college is doing outstanding. And I'm very proud of that, very proud of North Idaho College. And admittedly, yes, there have been changes, but I would argue, say, look at the results of those changes. And pleased that North Idaho College and we just had an accreditation on-site visit, and it was the best that the program has ever done. I encourage you to watch that board meeting.
Thank you. Candidate 5, Mary Havercroft.
Hello, my name is Mary Havercroft. I am an educator with over 40 years. I am a retired educator with over 40 years of experience. I worked in the classroom. I was a special services director in the district office, and I was a principal at an elementary school. I was not looking for a job, but I really, really, really want this one. I, like many of you here, have been watching NIC over the last several years and have been concerned about the problems with accreditation. There is really no reason that we need to be in the spot that we are. It's fixable. The current status of show cause is because of the Board of Trustees, and we can fix that. I believe, well, let me tell you a little bit about my experience. When I worked in the central office for 21 years, because Lakeland School District, 34 of my last years of my career were spent in the Lakeland School District. Lakeland is a smaller and conservative district in our county. I'm running out of time, so I'm not going to give you my experience, but I believe that I have the experience, the expertise, and the willingness to work with NIC and to be able to work through our accreditation difficulties. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate number 6, Michael Angeletta.
Thank you. The reason why I'm running is I've been coaching small businesses out of my NIC office actually for the last couple of years, and there's been recurring challenges for a lot of business owners, and it specifically relates to talent pool, lack of skilled labor, lack of raw young people that are coming in even willing to learn. And it's clear and obvious that NIC plays a critical role in solving that challenge and problem. So that's first and foremost. I see a very obvious solution in the form of NIC that can help solve that problem of what is essentially the largest employer in this county. It's the combined small business owners right here in Kootenai County. The other thing that pained me is to see all the politicization going on around the activity of the board. And it does nobody any good. It doesn't do the students good. It doesn't do any of us as community members any good. And my track record, I bring a lot of results related to working, building coalitions, building bipartisan teams to solve big problems. I spent 7 years working with a Democratic congresswoman, a Republican senator, working on reforming tax code. It took 7 years. I got a state health authority, not in this state, another state, to reform the way they do their reporting and their accountability to us, the taxpayers. I did that again with coalition building. I built a coalition with Democratic Senator Betsy Johnson, some Republican mayors, chambers of commerce, and we got it done. And the health authority reformed the way they do their accountability and their reporting. So I'm here to tell you, and I'm not going to go through my resume right now. Hopefully I'll have an opportunity to share with you what my relevant experience is. I can share big names and I can tell you what boards I'm on, but I'm here to tell you I'm here to bring results, and I'm here to believe that North Idaho College is going to be great in 10 years. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. We will now proceed with the questions. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to respond to each question. Student Body President Joseph Moran will ask our first question.
Thank you, Lindsay. Good evening, trustees, candidates. We'll get started. Candidate 1, Bill Lyons. Sorry, I'm not starting with you. I'm starting with number 2. All right. Here we go. Candidate 2, Rick Durbin. Question 1. Please describe your long-term vision for North Idaho College and how it increases the value of NIC to the residents and businesses of our region. Please remember that you have 2 minutes to respond.
Okay, yeah, so that's an easy question to answer. The long-term vision of NIC is it still being here, right? So we want to make sure that we have NIC for generations so that we can continue to expand programs and grow the facility. Just like other candidates have mentioned, we need NIC here for our local businesses and our local economy. So back to the question of my vision for NIC is continuation and expansion so that we can continue to help lift up those students, or everyone for that matter. As an adult student, having younger students at the college, to lift up our community and continue to have those resources available. Thank you.
Thank you, Candidate Durbin. Next, Candidate Eve Knutson. I'd like to ask you the same question.
Thank you, Joseph. So my long-term vision for the college would see it continue to be the jewel in Kootenai County that it is now. To be the place where students can get more education, they can get skills, they can get training to go right into the workforce or to go on and continue their education. I see a great future for NIC in being able to fulfill a mission of student outcome. You know, how it increases value, right? As a business person and spending some time with economic development, I've come to think of our community as a three-legged stool. And three-legged stools, you know, can be very precariously balanced. So I see one of the legs balancing the stool as education, NIC. I see another stool as the workforce, those of us that employ NIC graduates. And I see a third leg of the stool as business and industry, again, employing those NIC graduates. So together, those three legs keep balance on a stool that I believe is best represented by strong community. So if we want to keep our strong community, we want to balance those three legs. So we need NIC to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Candidate McKenzie.
Ask the question one more time. I didn't write it down as fast.
Please describe your long-term vision for North Idaho College and how it increases the value of NIC to the residents and businesses of our region.
All right, thank you. Yeah, that's incredibly important question. The only problem I have with that is a question of my vision. And as a trustee, we're a policy board, and we make sure that the college adheres to the policies that the board approves. And those policies are gone through the participatory governance process and has input from all stakeholders. So a trustee like myself, I can have a vision. Like, I totally support workforce training, CTE. I totally support the expansion of the prairie process. And I can vocally say that, and I normally have those conversations one-on-one with the president and support him in his vision and make sure he's hearing what I and my community and all 5 trustees who are sitting on the board are hearing, and they're able to get back to it. But really the vision is the president has goals, and those board goals are either collaboration between the president and the board, and making sure that those goals are shown. So my vision, I can tell you, like, basically as a candidate, what you're voting for somebody who cares about jobs in this community, who cares about training their people, but it also cares about that what the community, everyone involved at the college has buy-in to the mission statement of the college. And just to give you an example, the prior master planning thing had 3 goals, and now we're moving to 5 goals, and that's through I think it's a 20-person committee. And also blinking. Hold on. I got 19 seconds. That the decisions at the college are based off of data-driven decisions from all stakeholders. So you get buy-in from everyone, from the workforce, from the community, from everybody. That the master plan that basically sets out what we're doing is you get everyone's buy-in, and that everyone is important. And there's no, and I'm gonna say one more thing. The prior master plan didn't even have maintenance of the buildings included in there. So we're much improving things and looking forward to the master plan getting approved.
Thank you. Candidate Havercroft.
A long-term vision for NIC is, in my, let me start over. NIC is a local school, and it is charged with responding to the people in our community, to the needs of the people in our community, to the needs of the businesses in our community. I feel like it is currently doing a great job of doing that. In the future, I see us continuing to do more of the same, building more programs, making changes to our programs as things change in the community, and offering students the opportunity to enter the work field in jobs that we don't even know are going to be there at this point in time. So I see more of the same greatness. We have some quality programs. We have some exceptional faculty and staff. And we have a administration and a president that are working to increase the number of students that are in attendance. And I just see more of those good things in terms of programs that we develop.
All right, thank you. Candidate Angeletta.
Yeah, so I second Greg. It's really not about my vision as a trustee, but I will share my vision right now. I think, vision is the pinnacle of a mountain. It's the goal we all strive to get to. It's really uncomfortable to reach it. It pushes us into new areas of growth. So I think a vision ought to be provocative. It ought to be provocative, and I think it can go beyond 2, 3, even 4 years. It should be 10 years. When we start thinking about what comes in 10 years, your imagination really starts to race. What does NIC look like in 2034? I can tell you personally, for me, I've got 2 little kids. By then, NIC will probably be touching their lives in some shape or form if it's fulfilling its mission. They'll only be in their teens, but that's my point. The community college can work downstream. For a lot of lost and adrift youth, quite frankly, who have no mission or purpose, NIC is perfectly suited to help those kids find mission and purpose. So I see freedom of more choice, to explain more of what we're already doing in terms of vocations, mirroring some of the values of the community. This is a big Second Amendment community. I understand that there's a new gunsmithing course. There's a wonderful industry investment opportunity there. There's more freedom for consuming education. So a kid in Bonners Ferry doesn't have to drive to the college, even though he's got a full-time job, to access his classes. We should have hybrid education, more of it, more accessibility. That's part of the mission of NIC, by the way. And ultimately, just fostering a culture of transparency and accountability, extreme transparency and accountability. And that means when we're looking at our vision, we've got goals, and those goals are measured by key performance indicators, and those KPIs should be visible easily to each and every one of us in this room. That's part of a 10-year vision I'd like to see. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Lyons.
Thank you, Joseph. I like being last. I hear all this wisdom out here and all these different ideas. And I say, all I have to do is just say, I'll do the same. No, not really. I think we all have our own individual ideals here. I think NIC's growth has never been better. I see things happening that I've never seen in any other junior college or community college in the West Coast. The amount of new studies that are being offered, the crafts at the technical center. I mean, it just amazes me. Michael had related to the gunsmithing school. Where else are you going to go where you can pick up a course in gunsmithing? Now, I'm not pounding my chest, but I am also on the board for the Idaho State Rifle and Pistol Association. I'm very passionate about the Second Amendment. So when I see Second Amendment people getting involved in gunsmithing, coming to this school, I said, that is really good. Because now somebody who maybe didn't really have a future anywhere else now has a future. And we've offered that. If they can do that, guess what's going to happen in the next 5 to 10 years? We're not stopping. And my vision is that we're going to continue offering more innovative opportunities, studies, curriculum, trades, and everything for these students out here. As far as growth for the community, you can't get better than our new athletic program that's going on right now. Look at, a couple years ago, we played pretty much intramural. We stayed up here in the state, in the Panhandle. But now we have the whole, northwest area. We're bringing students from all over up here to Coeur d'Alene, to the areas. They spend money, they have hotel rooms, they thrive the business. It's a win-win situation. So I'm thinking that's where I see the vision. I'm going to keep it that way, and that's it right now. Thank you.
All right. Moving on to question 2, we'll be starting with candidate Knudsen. The Northwest Commission of Colleges and Universities, or NWCCU, has outlined the necessary steps to return to North Idaho College to good standing. How do you intend to resolve the accrediting body's remaining concerns? Please remember that you have 2 minutes to respond.
Thank you, Blake. So the NWCCU did lay out things that they wanted to see NIC accomplish to return to accreditation. And I believe that the college has accomplished most of that. I believe the only thing remaining is to resolve the issue of board governance. So I believe that making sure that there is a board of trustees who is committed to working with the college president and his staff and the constituencies at the college to make sure that what the college does, how they set their policies and their procedures, all move in the direction of the mission. And I believe that that is the last remaining hurdle to overcome that would allow the NWCCU to review the show cause order that they have the college on now and return it to full accreditation.
Thank you. Candidate McKenzie.
Thank you. I would just like to read, I encourage everyone on August 30th, the college, in collaboration with trustees, ACT consultants, and Dr. Swain and his administration, submitted a report to NWCCU, and I would just like to read the conclusion. Based on the evidence provided in this report, NIC has demonstrated that the Board of Trustees has made progress toward addressing board governance issues identified by the NWCCU. It is equally clear, however, the board needs to continue to exhibit behaviors that would go further evidence of meeting the eligibility requirements and standards set forth by NWCCU in order to remain in good standing. While the board continues their work, the institution remains steadfast in fulfilling its mission, providing educational opportunities for its students, faculty, and staff, and members of the community. It serves as evidence by the tremendous progress even during uncertain accreditation times. It goes on to list examples of the amazing things that's going on at the college. It says, while NWCCU may not recognize this progress to return NIC to good standing, the compelling evidence in this report serves as documentation that the college has earned a minimum of a reduced sanction. And as a board member and approving policies that have been far outdated, if you look at Section 2 that the board is directly responsible for, there was a lot of policies that I want to say 20 years maybe that haven't been touched, which as I talked to some accreditation experts is an accreditation finding in itself. So all the policies have been revamped and that we're have a policy and a schedule for in the policy on policies, and that I personally feel like I've worked very hard with my fellow board of trustees to exhibit good governance in our board meetings, and I'm committed to continuing this evidence, continue to exhibit behaviors. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Havercroft?
Repeat the question.
Yes. The Northwest Commission of Colleges and Universities has outlined the necessary steps to return North Idaho College to good standing. How do you intend to resolve the accrediting body's remaining concerns?
I think that it will be important to work as a team. Board members need to work together, not bringing in their own agendas or their own ideology. They need to have that common mission of meeting the accreditation recommendations in order to be able to resume full accreditation. I think it will be important that we keep our focus on accreditation because that is our most important concern at this point in time. Like people have said before me, the college is doing a wonderful job. Their programs are operating efficiently. They have ratings of excellence. We need, as the trustees, to work together and keep our focus on improving relations, improving board behavior, working together as a group with this common goal of addressing accreditation.
Thank you. Candidate Angeletta?
Well, I have some good news. I'm pretty sure Mary and I agree on at least 90% of the important issues related to NIC, and one of those is good governance. We all want NIC to thrive. And so the question really becomes, well, what is good governance? Good governance means civil dialogue. Good governance means humility. And there's not enough humility to go around. Good governance means civility and not laughing at anybody up here on this panel, by the way. Good governance means focusing on the goals of the college. And so I view the trustee role as being a champion of good governance. And I met with Nick Swain today. We had a wonderful, productive conversation for an hour and a half talking about the goals of the college and how a relationship between trustees and the president can be productive and civil. And that's why I'm here. I'm bringing my professional experience to guarantee that good governance. And hopefully I'll have a chance to share some of my experience that I can demonstrate to you how I would be a key player in facilitating that good governance. So I just would encourage all of us to be bringing forth more humility and less ego to this conversation and this problem, and we will all benefit. All of us, and the community will too. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Lyons?
Thank you. There's a lot to be said here. We all agree on one thing, and that's called governance. I hate to be a broken record, but that's really where it boils down to. I have found that when you have 6 people, 5 people, 2 people together, you're never going to get the same resolution. They're all going to have their own individualities, their own slants on what they want, what they feel they can do, and what they can't do. They don't. None of us think that we have the answer, but we all think we got the prominent answer. One of the things I did as a successful business manager for Emerson Process Management is I had to go in front of large corporations, ExxonMobil, Phillips 66, Potlatch, and I had to go to the board members. I had to go down to the maintenance people. I had to go to the foreman and talk about the issues they had. My goal wasn't to solve their problem. My goal was to listen. I'm a firm believer that, and you've probably heard it before, I'm going to, not paraphrase it too much, but, God gave us 2 ears, 2 eyes, and only 1 mouth, and most of the time we use it in wrong proportions. And I'm seeing that right now with the trustees that we have, is that there's a lot of individuality, there's not a give and take, there's a lot of talking, but there's not enough listening. So I think if we can work together, you solve a problem, then you have success. If you just try to do your own solutions before solving the problem, it's not going to happen. So it's a simple process. So egos and sometimes the ideals of where your vision is out of the picture. You need to just listen and solve the existing problems. They're evident. I mean, you just read the NWCCU's reports. We've worked on it, and it's happening. And I think we're well on our way for 2025 to be back on accreditation. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Durbin?
So, as I mentioned before, I'm about as smooth as 10 miles of bumpy road, so I'm not well scripted, just so you know. But I don't think this is complicated. It's professionalism and respect. And I think that's the most important thing that we've lost. And to remember what our purpose is, and that is servitude. That's to serve the students, the faculty, and the community. Once again, I don't think this is that complicated, and I agree with everyone up here. We have some challenges that we have to address, and there again, let's do it together with the main focus of servitude and making sure we're always doing what's right. And that's all I have. Thank you.
All right, question 3. Start with candidate number 4, Greg McKenzie. The question is, do you support using tax dollars to fund higher education in Idaho? Why or why not? Please remember that you have 2 minutes to respond.
Yes. North Idaho College is providing immense support to the community. That's an easy one. Going to the legislature in January is always a fun time. And I think I'm in a position to connect with our legislatures and explain to them. I have the personal relationship with each of these legislatures, and to explain to them the good things that North Idaho College is doing for the community and how everyone's tax dollars, but how the legislature money, it's always a fight for money, how it's most well spent for North Idaho College. And we are being transparent too with what we're putting into the legislature. So last year it was kind of a bit of a surprise to the Board of Trustees, and our board governance process is immensely improved to where we knew what was going to the legislature well before it even hit there, and you had, again, stakeholder input and a conversation about it. So our board governance is improving in many, many different ways to get the whole college working as a team, to get the college and the employees the resources they need to get to success. So, and the Board of Trustees has always cared about getting the employees the resources they have. That's why I know that the employees got an 8% raise of last year. They got 3% raise this year. It's very important that the employees who are having directly with the students, that they're getting the resources that they need. And I'm very proud of what the employees are doing with those resources when given the opportunity to connect with students. We have now a nationally ranked soccer team that was just announced at the last board meeting. And when you give North Idaho College I think it was like some study by the chamber, I think there's the multiplier of that money and how it goes about the community is very efficiently done, and it's a good use of taxpayer dollars. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Havercroft.
I am very much in favor of using tax dollars to support higher institutions in Idaho. North Idaho College is a local college. It has a local board. The programs and classes are designed to meet the needs of our community. A high percentage of students at NIC are from this area. They are able to take training and get education that they can turn into jobs that come back to this community. A lot of our graduates or our students that are leaving NIC are leaving employable and ready for jobs that we need right here in Kootenai County. I think it's very important that we keep that control, that we have that opportunity to use our tax dollars to have a school that is designed for our needs and the people that we live around, our neighbors, our families. Last night at a board meeting, last night at the meeting of trustees at NIC, a program that was showcased has all of their graduates already hired before they finished their program. It was a surgery tech program that was recently reviewed and had excellent reviews and evaluations. And we need to keep those programs here.
Thank you. Candidate Angeletta.
Yeah, it's an interesting question, actually, because some of you probably already know the Idaho State GOP platform. They added something about not funding higher education. We can have an intellectual exercise on why. Yeah, a lot of higher education institutions, they have administrative bloat over the last 40 years, and there's a ton of rent seeking and fiscal irresponsibility. The good news is NIC is fiscally responsible, and they have like a $2 million surplus every year, so that's wonderful. So my first answer is a definitive yes. I do support taxpayer funding for NIC, but that also comes with a responsibility. That means we, the trustees, are responsible to the taxpayers, and the president is accountable to we, the trustees. Everybody has a boss, and everybody has a job to do. And so we owe it to the taxpayers. If we are going to take their hard-earned dollars, we better make sure it's used for effect and positive impact in the community. So my answer is yes, but with a complete spirit of accountability. And that's where the transparency comes back in. We owe it to you, the taxpayers, to be as transparent as possible with what we're doing at the college and the performance that we're leading towards our goals. And so that's something I would promise and commit to bring to the table for everybody here. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Lyons.
I believe if we take money from people and educate our people with that, our students. And to be honest with you, there's another question here too. We don't really just educate our students, we're educating adults. There are adult education going on here. People come here, not only just students, but adults come and get training and go back into the area and get better jobs and better solutions for themselves. So yes, I think funding is needed by the community. That's why it's called community colleges, folks. You know, we answer to the community. We should be there for the community, not taking from them, but supporting them. So yes, the money is a yes from my opinion. I vote for that. But with that, like Michael just said, comes a responsibility that we go back as a board and make sure that money is being used wisely, and then offer suggestions both to the president and to the colleges on what is going to happen in the future. So I'll end with that. I think it's really a common sense question, but one that is well needed. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Durbin.
Yes. I'm just kidding. No, of course. I mean, if this is an opportunity for us to serve the community, utilize those resources, expand the college, and continue to keep our costs low for those students, there's no question, it's an absolute yes. So, thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Knudsen.
Thank you, Joseph. What a great question. Taxes are a little bit of a hot button with me. In the early 2000s, there was an organization that I helped serve on the board called Concerned Businesses of North Idaho. And that group was a property tax watchdog group. And we sought to hold the local taxing entities accountable in what they did with their budgets and what the results were every year. So when we start to talk about taxes, particularly property taxes, my heart starts to beat a little bit faster. And property tax makes up a significant portion of North Idaho College's revenue source. So as a trustee with a fiduciary responsibility, it would be incumbent on me, as well as the rest of the Board of Trustees, to do everything that we can to protect the interest of the property taxpayer. So I would hope to see that we would be able to convince the legislature to continue to fund higher education, in particular to fund NIC.
Moving on to question number 4, we'll be starting with candidate Havercroft. How do you perceive the role of the trustees and collectively the Board of Trustees concerning supporting the efforts to recruit, attract, and retain students, faculty, and staff of North Idaho College. Please remember that you have 2 minutes to respond.
How do I support the board in attracting and
Yes. How do you perceive the role of the trustees and collectively the Board of Trustees concerning supporting the efforts to recruit, attract, and retain students, faculty, and staff at North Idaho College?
I think that the answer really comes down to letting people know about all the college has to offer. And I think it comes down to being our best advertisement by bragging about what we have and what we've done and what we're planning to do. And I believe as a trustee, I would have the obligation to be out in the community, letting people know what's going on at the school, participating in activities. I need to be an ambassador of sorts for the college in terms of just being positive and communicating what's going on at the college, because there's a lot of wonderful things happening. And we need to let people know, and the trustees need to be involved with letting people know all that they can, and in as many avenues and situations, what they're seeing and what it has to offer.
Thank you. Candidate Angeletta?
So to be clear, a trustee's not meddling with NIC operations. That said, I think it really comes down to asking the right questions. That means asking the president the right questions. It means asking other administrators the right questions. You can only ask the right questions if you bring a certain set of experience to the table. So, I started an e-learning company, so I know a thing or two about building curriculum. It ended up educating thousands of working professionals and students. I ended up selling that business. I've been a chief revenue officer responsible for taking a business from 1 to 20 million. I managed teams across multiple continents, across different cultures, and I had to provide the strategic vision for that company to achieve those goals. And so I think you need somebody with strategic background, somebody who's been there, done that in very high pressure situations to kind of push the administration and the president to be the best they can be. And so I look at being a trustee as a way of adding value by asking the smart questions. And that's what I see as my role, to then help improve all of the metrics that you were just talking about. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Lyon?
Can you repeat that just one more time? 'Cause
Absolutely.
I think we had several diverse but very good answers so far, but I'd like to find if I'm on the right roll.
How do you perceive the role of the trustees and collectively the Board of Trustees concerning supporting the efforts to recruit, attract, and retain students, faculty, and staff of North Idaho College?
Example, example, and example. That's really what the trustees need to do. You have a good board that gets along with the president, and success will follow. I think we have the basis here, and I think if we can get the community involvement a little bit more, have them involved, maybe some of the attendance at these board meetings are very, very slow and very weak, and I think we have to have a way of bringing more people involvement. We need to hear from you more, so that means more press. That means that we can be more responsive to you. So that's really what we need to do right now. But the role is basically just, I even envision possibly getting more of the private industry getting involved in making presentations at the board meetings too. Getting more growth going that way. So just getting involvement in the community, that's really where I think we need to do. Maybe even having the board going into the high schools and looking for our dual enrollment, seeing how we can increase that. It's doing great right now. It can be improved upon. But just a little more involvement other than just becoming a once-a-month meeting place and having discussions upon yourselves. We need to get more involvement with the individual territories in this area.
Thank you. Candidate Durbin?
Well, I think everybody's had some great points. You know, the interesting side of it is the role of a trustee, once again, goes back to professionalism and respect and support. So number one, we need to make sure that we're supporting the president and not getting in his way. Number two, and I'm sure there's countless more, so I'll quit using numbers, by the way. But the other is, and I think Bill did a great job, it's lead by example. You know, once again, we're here to serve and support. I think we can challenge without pushing, and we can give them the opportunity to grow, going back to the leadership and the faculty. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Knudsen?
Thank you. I kind of think it comes down to really being able to listen and hear what it is that the community is telling us that the community needs and wants, what the students are telling us that they need and want, what the faculty and the staff are telling us, because I believe that they have a really good pulse on what needs to happen to address the needs and wants of each one of those constituencies. And then I believe, as a trustee, along with the other trustees, our role is to work with our college president to find ways to be able to answer those needs and wants of each one of those constituencies.
Thank you. Candidate McKenzie?
Hello. How do I perceive the role to attracting recruit students for North Idaho College? So again, not getting into operations is a policy board, so you're a trustee. So what does that look like? It means, again, supporting the president. I wrote down sounding board for the president and bouncing off ideas and kind of being that person that the president can talk to, and those relationships are quite special. Supporting the president's recommendations in a board meeting. When he puts recommendations in front of the board, that's supposed to have gone through the governance process. It's supposed to have all input from the for the budget, and supporting the president's recommendations that are coming there. And as a board, support your president that you've hired. Relay community connections to the president to help NIC meet the community needs. And like any business, if you have a need, if the community has a need and you're running a business, then customers will find that need, and that'll naturally be attracting. So relaying community connections, and that's what you do as a trustee, in my opinion. So, so it also may seem corny, but trustees can put the trust into the college. And what that means is I've been on the board for 4 years now. There's been protests against masks. There's been protests against firings of employees. Decisions have been made, and when you have a good relationship with the president, you're able to go into executive session. The board of trustees is able to be that sounding board and assure people that, hey, policies were followed neutrally, and you're able to essentially be informed of the situation appropriately in executive session, and then it stays in executive session. And so as a trustee, you may not be able to say like, hey, this person did X, Y, Z, and and give everyone the whole community, because people have their employment rights, and there's reasons you can't do that. But basically, if the governance process is working right, and the trustees and the information flow is there, and I just want to say, during my time, the information flow to the trustees has drastically improved. So.
All right, moving on to question 5. We'll start with candidate Michael Angeletta. The question is, North Idaho College recently switched athletic conferences, which led to a $4 million increase in the athletic budget. However, no money is currently earmarked to cover the increase. How can NIC sustainably support the athletics program?
Give me the tough one when I'm the first one. First, I don't have strong opinions on the division switch on the athletic program. I can tell you that, financially, the college is sitting on very firm ground. I mentioned the surplus. I can tell you my understanding is that there's a one-time budget hit, but given the reserve funds the college has and the ongoing surplus of operations every year, it should be able to absorb the change in the expenses that come with switching divisions. And can you repeat the remainder of that question real quick, please?
How can NIC sustainably support the athletics program?
Well, I think it will, because of that budget surplus it already has. So operationally, based on the numbers that I've seen, the college should be able to support that beyond that one-time hit on the budget and be able to fund the athletic program. Now, to be fair, this goes back to transparency. It's very hard for somebody like me to see all of the relevant numbers on the budget in an easy and visible fashion. And so I would propose, as it relates to NIC financials, that this is all part of a larger push towards transparency, where we can actually see those numbers, how they impact, and how they're forecasted in the coming years. And then I'm going to even be able to answer that question even better. So thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Lyons.
Actually, this is probably something that Rick next door here can answer better than me. He's the financial wizard. How do we support the growth that we have? Well, you've got two things. You can raise ticket cost. Nah, we don't want to do that. You can increase it by maybe getting media coverage. That's a possibility. I think we sure can do that. There's all kinds of radio and television out there now that's just ready to see our youth out there in their basketball and in their soccer, baseball games and everything. That's a tapping source. That's what most universities go for. They go for, the getting for the media coverage. Secondly, I think that you go through the areas. We've already got the schools that we're competing against. We're bringing them in. That's going to bring in revenue. It's not going to come right away. We took a big jump when we jumped conferences, and it's going to take us a year or two to start recouping some of that. There's a lot of initial costs that we didn't have before. But when you can start bringing in money outside the territory here, that money helps the industry as a whole, then we can tap into that. There's all kinds of avenues. I'm not an advertiser type of person. You can do all kinds of financial sales and bringing media coverage and bringing, wearing different game outfits. And that's all out there right now for us. But I think it's going to come. But I support it, and it's just there to have us sit back and look at it from a logical standpoint and not just think of it as a added use for our college, but one that's a needed use. And it's going to be here for the future, too.
Thank you. Candidate Durbin.
Full disclosure, I went to college on a wrestling scholarship. Took a little detour along the way. But with that said, Mr. Lyons is absolutely right. I am a financial professional. I own a wealth management firm with my wife. I'm a certified financial planner. And so that question is really, really tough, because in my profession, I need to see all the details. I cannot give an answer without knowing exactly where that revenue is coming from. Yes, NIC is in an excellent position fiscally. But without knowing what the without knowing what the ongoing costs are going to be and what the plan is to supplement that added expense, there again, I apologize, but that's the information that we would need to make an educated decision so that we're making sure that we're not putting the college in harm's way. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Knudsen.
Thank you so much for the question. I think that I felt really surprised when the announcement was made that we were going to switch conferences. I hadn't really heard a lot about it, and it's not something that really would have come across my radar. But I would have thought that I would have heard something coming from, booster clubs and others in the community talking about. I would have thought they've been really excited in moving toward changing conferences. So, yeah, I was kind of surprised by it, which goes to, I completely agree with what Mr. Angeletto was saying about the transparency, because I felt like I was kind of blindsided by this change. It just didn't feel transparent to me. And I can't tell you if I think that it's a good sustainable move, because I just frankly don't know. I need more information.
Thank you. Candidate McKenzie.
if you go back 2 years, all three candidates campaigned to go back to NJCAA because there's a very large community that remembers what it was like back then. And in my opinion, it goes to change management and priorities. And the board has basically said, if we're going to do this, we're going to do this right. And they said to come back with a recommendation and do the study on the assessment, and that was done of last year. And the recommendation was honored by the board. Again, the board recommending the president's, honoring the president's recommendation. So it really gets down to the whole organization working together to fulfill the community's goals. So the board represents the community, and as I said, you had 3 trustees who campaigned on that 2 years ago, and Trustee Banducci has been a vocal advocate for that. And to me, the conversation is more so much not about money. It is about power and control. And basically, if people were paying attention during COVID, NWAC was an organization that basically, I don't know if it was North Idaho College or NWAC, but basically if there was one person on the team who decided to remain unvaccinated, then the whole team was treated as if they were unvaccinated. And that was, even though wrestling is in NJCAA and did not have that rule, it was still implemented at North Idaho College. So talk about peer pressure, talk about politics and sports. And if you look at where NWAC is, it's Oregon and Washington, and those are the politics that dominate that sports leagues. So it goes to really power and control, and the community, it reflects, NJCAA just definitely reflects more of student opportunity, and definitely on a national scale more aligns with respecting individual rights as COVID showed, and that vaccine mandate requirements. So, and just there's lots of ideas that I feel like the college is just getting started with. I know the signs, it's been shared with me that the signs in the gymnasium were never rented, or they were rented, and during NWAC didn't have the population to show up there, and so they are now changing that into an income stream, and I look forward to all the good changes the college is doing to support it.
Thank you. Candidate Havercroft.
Well, I love athletics, and I do believe they have a big part in a community college. There are a lot of positives with the students supporting or participating in their sports, and the opportunities to build a positive climate with the addition of athletics. I do have to say that the last two board meetings ago, when I saw the budget increase for the athletic program, and I saw the number of international students that were involved this year as opposed to previous years, I did have a lot of questions that I had not attended the previous board meetings, so I was not able to have those questions answered. But I do think, as a trustee, I would want to really continuously monitor that budget to see that it would sustain itself. And I would want to make sure that we were looking as a college whether that conference was a good fit and that it was meeting the needs of our athletic programs, and whether the agreement to transport international athletes was doable for a long time, over the next year or 2 years when we're talking about sustainability. So I think there's a lot of questions that I certainly can't answer, but I think as a board, we would have to spend a lot of time monitoring that was the right choice and the right fit for our college and budget.
Thank you. Moving on to question 6, we'll start with candidate Lyons. How do you, as a trustee, plan to strengthen existing partnerships and foster new relationships between North Idaho College and local businesses to reinforce and create student career pathways?
That's a loaded question. Again, it always boils down to good governance. I can't do anything myself, and I think what's happened in the past is that too many times that we have individuality and not a a camaraderie of people with the same opinion and can work together. So I think as a unit, I would hope that we could work together as a board and then have open discussions, not only with at the board meetings, but other discussions within the local community on how we're doing. First off, I don't see that there is a report card from the community back to the board all the time. That should be something that should be done on a quarterly basis. And I think we should have a good checks and balance there. Otherwise, you're allowing people just to run on and do the things that they want without knowing what's really good for the community. So I would go and work with the community a little bit better to find out what their needs are first. I think we offer everything right now we can for what we think, but we need to hear more from the community and the businesses on how we can work together on that.
Thank you. Candidate Durbin?
Can you repeat the question real quick?
Absolutely. How do you, as a trustee, plan to strengthen existing partnerships and foster new relationships between North Idaho College and local businesses to reinforce and create student career pathways?
So as being a local business owner, of course, I support North Idaho College. And the role of a trustee would be to support President Swain, the faculty, and obviously be an outreach for the community, as Mr. Lyons had said. Now with that, once again, it's lead by example, professionalism, respect, every opportunity that we have. And by the way, we already do this. Those of us that have grown up here recognize the value of NIC. My oldest son graduated from my NIC. My middle son is a current student. We encourage local business owners always to look at NIC first, and it is a huge provider of labor within our community. So in summary, just keep doing what we're doing. Just take it to another level of professionalism and respect. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Knudsen?
Thank you so much for this question. I have to say that I feel that, first of all, NIC does have strong relationships with the local business community. They have various advisory boards that listen to industry and business as to what the needs are for the skilled workforce now and where we think they're going to need training in the future. I think that we have a tremendous professional technical training program, a degree program, and the workforce development program that answers kind of the short-term needs for training that doesn't necessarily take 2 years to get. So I think they're already doing a really great job. The only thing that I could think of that maybe business would want to see more of is working together to provide apprenticeships for students that would turn into a long-term employment possibility. But I really do think that those relationships with the local business community are really strong and will continue to be so.
Thank you. Candidate McKenzie?
Thank you. Yeah, I would just like to also touch on the advisory boards. And for example, as we learned at the last board meeting, the surgical technician advisory board, there's a requirement for accreditation to have one surgeon. I believe they have 3. So please correct me if I think I'm right on that. And that just shows that the people in our community absolutely love North Idaho College, and just connecting and educating as many people as you can to go to North Idaho College and let them know about the career pathways, let their business take advantage of the career pathways, and also students to know that it's there to advance their own personal lives. I think to those that know all 5 of the Board of Trustees, and I know some may know others more than others, but to those who know me, and I've spent a lot of time, as you know, with Banducci, and he's got assaulted at his workplace, physically assaulted, was thrown cleaning chemicals on him, big bucket, and his whole office was destroyed. And people know us, and basically each trustee is willing to advance ideas that are good for the community. And if you have a career pathway, if you have a need that each of the trustees up there are up there trying to strengthen existing relationships and help North Idaho College meet its goal of serving its community. I would also emphasize that ideas are judged on, they should be judged on the quality of the idea, not on who proposed the idea. And it gets back to data-driven decisions at North Idaho College. So just an example, and I know it talks about career pathways, and I'm going to talk about wrestling here, but it's just the most blatant example that comes to mind about women's wrestling. And I feel like that if Banducci wasn't the only one recommending it, that North Idaho College would have an excellent opportunity to advance opportunities for students. So just getting back to that data-driven decisions and helping meet the needs of this community.
Thank you. Candidate Havercroft?
Well, I agree with Eve that I feel like the college is doing a wonderful job already of working with the local businesses and making sure that the students are prepared for the job force. I think they're doing this, but I think we need to continue to do this and maybe expand on our involvement. But I think we have to have the businesses involved at every level. And we've spoken of planning in terms of the advisory committees. I think having the people in business see the students in their training programs, being involved with helping them, the apprenticeships, the practicums, and certainly keeping that line of communication open with the college and the Board of Trustees in terms of what's working, what isn't working, and how can we expand our programs to do a better job.
Thank you. Candidate Angeletta?
Assuming it's within the constraint of the responsibility of the trustee, when I'm coaching businesses, small businesses in particular, again, and I want to emphasize small businesses are the largest employer combined in this county. And I've mentioned before that I've seen a recurring pain for small businesses where there's a dearth of skilled talent. And one missing gap I've seen, and I've been incredibly impressed with the breadth of vocational programs of NIC, it actually blows my mind. However, there's still a pain point out there that I think needs to be solved. So it's one thing to partner with big employers, it's another thing to find out how do you build awareness and how do you build a talent pipeline for those small businesses. And I agree with facilitating and nurturing more apprenticeship programs. I think that would be something very exciting to see for the college. I think there's some other opportunities too. I work at the Den and the Innovation Collective in downtown Coeur d'Alene a couple days a week just so I can actually see people. And there's an amazing amount of talent there. These are people who are on the top of their game when it comes to data science. These are folks who have been executives with some of the biggest tech companies. I want to see more partnerships with them. I want to see NIC leverage that incredible intellectual capital that's right here in downtown Coeur d'Alene. So personally, I'm really excited. There's so much more potential. NIC is already doing an amazing job, but we can even be doing more. So I'm sticking to that.
All right, moving right along. Question number 7, starting with candidate Rick Durbin. The question is, how will you support efforts to make college resources and services more accessible to non-traditional students, such as adult learners or those with disabilities?
That's a great question. So I think that the programs that the college has available are already moving forward and progressing to meet those needs. I think if we continue to allow a hybrid learning environment where it could either be exclusively online or a combination of online and in person, and continuing to make sure that we have the continuation of the college to allow for those programs to expand. I think that's a pretty simple challenge that we're already addressing, and it's getting better. So, thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Knudsen?
Thank you. I agree with a lot of what Mr. Durbin was having to say about that. Non-traditional students have been a part of North Idaho College for a very long time. Going back even to when there was identified a need in the community for adult basic education to allow adults to get the the education that they needed to be able to gain employment or continue on with further education. So with that, I think that the college has always fulfilled a role and a responsibility to non-traditional students. I see it just getting better, perhaps, in what we're able to offer from a distance standpoint, in terms of remote learning, remote delivery of programs. So, yeah, I think that the college is definitely serving and will continue to serve the needs of a non-traditional student population.
Thank you. Candidate McKenzie.
Yes, North Idaho College should be accessible to anyone who wants to learn from any age, any capabilities. And North Idaho College has programs to get there. It's Head Start, TRIO, GED. Those programs, I'm probably even, there's so many programs. Even the Children's Center on campus and how that couples in with single mothers or single parents, and it's on campus and getting them people on campus. During the pandemic, students showed in person during the pandemic. What you have is employees at North Idaho College who love learners and care about their people. And hearing what those needs is an active, is just what North Idaho College does and meeting them. So non-traditional students is very welcomed here. And if you go into near where the board meeting is, there's actually just, you can sit down and you can test out the hardware. You can do the eyes, where you can control the computer with your own eyes. They have nice computer stuff there. They have in the library, they have learning for there's so many resources. It's great. So come on board, and an employee who's trained in educating can do so much more. And I'm happy to walk you in there. And if you go to my website, McKenzieforNIC.com, my contact's there, and I'm happy to bring you in there. So I would just like to emphasize the last question, question two, that the property taxes for North Idaho College have been flat for 4 years, and yet the college has achieved this great success with all its metrics and stuff like that. So what the college has done with the board, I just think is a good partnership, and we're getting all working as a team to support the students who want to learn.
Thank you. Candidate Havercroft.
Well, I agree that technology and online programs have been a wonderful start to include more people, and especially people who are non-traditional and may have disabilities. But I think that we are also currently doing a good job. But I think when we are talking about dealing with students who are not in the mainstream or maybe are underserved, we need to go back and see why and identify the support systems that those people need to be successful in a school, at the college. What would they need in terms of support? Because one of the problems with online programs is that many people need the support of a person or people, and they need to have mentors or counselors or actually tutors to bridge the gap to help them to be successful. So again, I think identification is a big part of that, just seeing what the needs are and how they would be able to be more successful. And I think teacher training, I think the faculty needs to know how to work with people with disabilities, and I'm sure that they do, but I think continuous training is always important in order to do a better job of working with people that you have identified as those that you want to bring in and include.
Thank you. Candidate Angeletta.
Yeah, I think ultimately we have to continue to try to meet students where they are, time and place. So obviously adult learners have a lot of other competing interests, whether or not it's taking care of a family or whether or not it's one or two other full-time jobs. So we need to find a way to give them the education they need on demand, preferably self-service. Same goes with those with disabilities. That's a function of place. Same goes with somebody who might live in Bonners Ferry who can't, drive to NIC 3 days a week. I mentioned that example before. And I think, as somebody who's built e-learning curriculum before, there are ways you can incentivize engagement. It gets harder when somebody's in their room, and we learned that through COVID. A lot of kids weren't doing their homework. It was tough for all the parents. But there are clever tactics and strategies to use, like accountability partners. You put different kids in cohorts where they actually have an online community where they hold each other accountable. So there are definitely ways that we can address those particular folks who, for whatever reason, can't physically present themselves at NIC. And I'd actually even flip it on the side. I'm going to be a little provocative here, but there's two sides of the coin. There's the student side, there's the ones that are consuming the content, and then there's the teacher side. And so, if NIC does ever face a faculty shortage or a turnover issue, I know there have been some in the past, that e-learning and digital and hybrid education also opens up the doors to accessing educational talent on the teacher pool as well. And that's something that could be very exciting to expand some of the programs. Maybe we can't because right now we're constrained by our limited teacher talent pool. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Lyons.
I think those are some very good points that Michael just made. One that I think really hits me is that mentoring people with disabilities and challenges, whether it be financial, family, what have you. We have people that are trying to come, I hate to say it, out of prison, trying to make a living, and they want to go to college. And that's a whole special mantra of how we teach and how we maintain that. So we need to have a support group around people more than we have right now, and be able to change the way we're doing and work with them at meet their needs, not necessarily you meet mine. That's other things too, like even all the remote learning. We got some of the best centers remote, but people can't drive, especially for the minings now. I mean, you're talking people have to drive 3 and 4 hours just to come to school. So we need to even look at far-fetched. This might be another topic or question, but we need to start looking at remote dormitories and places to live. Even, and I imagine that because that also has a realm to go for the people with disabilities too. We need to change the structure, different access to all these classrooms and what have you. But I think it all boils down to a mentoring. It takes more than just teaching. It takes more than just having a computer. It takes a cheering section for these people, and to help them along and let them become the proper producers that they came to college to learn.
Thank you. Moving on to question number 8, starting with candidate Knudsen. The Board of Trustees has received multiple votes of no confidence from staff, faculty, and student government. How can the trustees rebuild a positive relationship with these constituent groups?
Well, thank you for that question. I think that there's been progress made since the letters of no confidence were presented. And I think it boiled down to not hearing what those constituents were trying to deliver in their messaging to the Board of Trustees. So I look forward as perhaps becoming a trustee to being able to listen and ask questions and understand what it is that the students, that the faculty, that the staff, that they all need, and work with the president, who will work with those constituencies to solve and find ways to provide solutions to what they're bringing. And I believe that listening is what inspires confidence from those constituencies. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate McKenzie.
Yes. I'm going to do a history lesson for hopefully less than a minute, and then moving forward. When I first got elected 4 years ago, there was multiple votes and no confidence, and some of them were on topics that basically people knew nothing about, and massive smears in the newspaper, and it didn't help when you have a president essentially advancing a narrative that your board of trustees is trying to burn down your college. And so the president and the board of trustees are supposed to work together, and where we came from and where we're going is, I think, a lot different. So as my time as chair, I'm very proud to say that a board response was initially issued. I think it was May timeframe of 2023. My dates hold up. And that was received warmly, and we were headed towards a 5-0 acceptance from all the trustees towards that board response, because even as board chair, it's best if you have all stakeholder buy-in, so it actually represents the whole board of trustees. And it was a pleasure working with Trustee Zimmerman, who's in the audience here. Thank you for working with me on that. I still have a picture of us working together on that. So I appreciate your inputs. So, and again, Trustee Corkle, him and I were working on a second one, follow-on, that I don't think it ever got out the door. But multiple votes and no confidence. Definitely each one has been heard and valued. And again, I'm glad that North Idaho College, that Chair Wagner is addressing the faculty and staff at each board meeting, and that's recognized in this August 30th response to NWCCU, that trying to make sure that the constituent groups felt like they were heard and that they are valued.
Thank you. Candidate Havercroft.
Well, it takes time to build trust. And I think that we do need to work as a board and as individual trustees to take time to talk and listen to the students and understand what it is that they want in their school, and what their frustrations and their disappointments were with the Board of Trustees, and make sure that we really understand that. But after we do that, then I think we have to see change. And we have to see, students will need to see that that effort is being made, and that things are coming from what they're asking for and what their concerns are. And to be an effective trustee, you have to always make your decisions based on the students and the college. And I think that shows when people are doing that, and I think that's what you have to do to get that trust back.
Thank you. Candidate Angeletta.
My professional background comes from a wide array of open, radically candid cultures, and that entails honesty, it entails candor, it entails humility. And so, you know, instead of being a bull in a china shop, it's first and foremost listening, just plain old listening. Discovery 101. What are your interests? What have been your frustrations? What do you see as success for the college, and how can I help? Now, obviously, I understanding and I'm learning there are certain constraints with what trustees and the conversations they can have with students. But wherever possible, you know, my whole philosophy is open door. Let me hear the concerns and let me see how I can help. And so that candor, that humility, quite frankly, that spirit of servant leadership is something I'm most certainly going to bring to the trustees. And once people feel heard, then the trust building begins. And then a real productive relationship starts. And then we can work on some mutual goals together. And that's entirely what I intend to do as a trustee when I get there. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Lyons.
I again agree with Michael on that. You know, we are a board of 5. We're supposed to make a unity decisions. I didn't see that in the past, and I'm striving right now. I will come and I will make sure that we have every opportunity to show every idea that we have, every problem that was brought before us in our different zones, and to make sure we work for a unified effort here. I think if we can solve that problem, everything else is going to go away. that's been my mantra all along, is don't go in with an attitude that this is what I'm going to do. I'm not that powerful. As 5 members, we are that powerful. And understand what our roles are, where we are with the president and with the students. So we can't talk to the students. We just can't talk to the students and take their interest and take it right to the board. We can't. We have to go through the president, and then we start negotiations. So that's how it works. But we have to stop looking at individuals and start looking as a unity, look for NIC as a college that is going to continue to be for the students. Okay?
Thank you. Candidate Durbin?
Yeah, I think it goes back to the fiduciary role of the board, right? So the responsibility of the board is to put the best interests of the students, the faculty, and the community first. And obviously, if there's a no vote of confidence from the faculty, that obviously sends up a red flag. In my profession, I'm required to be a fiduciary 100% of the time in everything that I do. But we want to make sure that we do it and go back to professionalism, respect, working together as a team to make sure that we're holding each other accountable, making sure that we're operating in a way that is in the best interest of the community, the students, and the faculty. Thank you.
All right, question 9, starting with candidate Greg McKenzie. The question is, how do you believe North Idaho College can build additional affordable academic pathways for students seeking higher education in the Pacific Northwest?
Affordable academic pathways. Well, you look at data-driven decisions and you look at trends in the needs of the community. But again, you have professionals in the administration that you hire, that you listen and you look at their recommendations, what you have. Now, me as an individual, I've heard plenty of ideas coming from out of the administration through the years about the Rathdrum campus and how it can turn into a regional international hub and driving business, driving profitability. And it's, as I said at the board meeting last time, you can only enroll for certain mechanic programs in August timeframe, and I just feel like there's a lot more potential and need in our community to kind of make rolling. I think there's other programs that do that. But then again, that's the administration looking for data-driven decisions and supporting the recommendation. And as a trustee, you have those conversations with your president and try your best to support them. So affordable. So also you look at every part of the budget cycle, you can see where your levy is and what's going to be talked about, and there's a breakdown of all the student fees. And so definitely I know the community colleges specifically, that's what the legislature has given us props for, is trustees are directly, you have 5 trustees per campus, and they're directly involved with the needs of the community and needs of each of the students to be part of the program. So.
Thank you. Candidate Havercroft.
Would you give me that question again?
How do you believe North Idaho College can build additional affordable academic pathways for students seeking higher education in the Pacific Northwest?
Well, I think we would need to start with evaluating the current programs that we have and seeing if they're really being utilized and if they're meeting the needs of the students. And I'm sure that we would want to collect data in terms of, are they being effective? Are they things that the community is asking for or utilizing? And then either plan according to the data and the information that we've collected, whether those programs need to be refined or improved, or whether the programs need to be replaced with something that's more current and more appropriate and active. And I'm sure that those kinds of processes are happening all the time, but getting the support of everyone involved, the faculty, the students, and the administration, in terms of making sure that we have the facilities to do that and that the need is there. I'm just positive that that is happening at this time, but we can always look at how to improve, and with our increased enrollment, what can we offer that will continue to bring students to the college?
Thank you. Candidate Angeletta.
Yeah, more affordable pathways, and I think there's two qualifiers: without increasing taxes, and also you mentioned for students across the Pacific Northwest, so that implies geographic proximity that currently is far beyond what most of our student base is. And so that comes right back to what we've been talking about earlier tonight, which is hybrid education all day long. It is by far the cheapest and most efficient way to deliver education. It makes it more accessible in terms of time and place, and it makes it more accessible in terms of affordability. So this is my background, so I'm somewhat biased, but I also see, the digitization is an oncoming freight train, whether we like it or not. It's certainly a mixed bag, but it's coming, and we need to be prepared. And if we're going to expand our student base, if we're going to make it more affordable, if we're going to make it more accessible, then digitization is definitely the way to go. And so we're talking about virtual learning platforms. We can even start talking about personal AI-assisted learning. That sounds like a big cheat. That's probably another conversation for another time. But regardless, there's some wonderful opportunities for NIC to already scale the amazing faculty competencies and expertise they have to many more students in a much more affordable manner. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Lyons.
Well, higher education throughout the Pacific Northwest, that's a big question. If we don't achieve and keep our accreditation, it's not going to happen. Nobody's going to come here and spend 18 months to 2 years learning if that piece of paper doesn't mean anything if they want to go higher education in the Northwest. So that's premier in my avenue right now, is to make sure we achieve and get the accreditation. Keeping the right teachers in the right spot is number 2. Again, it's learning, with our surgical technical team. I mean, I just can't believe we got 3 doctors. I don't think there's but maybe 3 other colleges out there that have certified doctors, degree doctors run in that program. They'll have somebody else. So we are just blessed with that. So that's the type of ingenuity that we have and need to continue in all of our programs. So we can see that in everything there. And then also in the homeschooling, we can possibly look at doing some of that, for the people that can't come on board here. But that's not really what I'm looking at. I'm looking at, what's going to make the people come to our college knowing that they can continue if they choose to go and further that degree. But that's not going to come. If we can't offer the accreditation, number 1, they're not going to do that. So that's primary in my place.
Thank you. Candidate Durbin.
I think that's a no-brainer, right? We need to come through, and forgive my redneck terminology. Once again, I'm pretty straightforward, and I'm about as smooth as 10 miles of bumpy road. But yeah, accreditation, let's assume we've moved beyond that. And let's assume, because we know that's going to happen at the next election, right? So at this point, when we look at, and I don't ask for a show of hands, but if you haven't toured the Parker Center, you need to do it. It is truly impressive. And what's interesting about that is we talk about the continuation of programs and affordability, and talking to those students and teachers out there, and the fact of how quickly that they're pivoting to match the needs of the community and the industry is truly impressive. And so I think the continuation of doing what we're doing and having the flexibility to pivot as we need to. So thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Knudsen.
Thank you for such thoughtful questions. So I think that keeping the college affordable is a concern that's shared by all of us, by trustees, by presidents, by faculty. we certainly know the students share that concern as well. What we can offer, right, is exactly some of what Mr. Angeletta suggested in terms of leveraging technology. Might help play a role in keeping the academic pathways affordable. Certainly, dual enrollment in my life played a significant role in being able to afford an academic pathway for a daughter who took advantage of that, dual credit, and was able, as a high school student, to achieve an associate degree before she even graduated from high school. And that certainly had a big impact on the affordability of her continuing education. So I think that that certainly we all share that concern, and that working together and trying to look at all kinds of ways inside and outside of the box plays a role in making sure that we keep our college affordable to all.
Thank you. Moving on to question 10, our final question for the night. I'll start with candidate Havercroft. What specific steps would you take to address the most critical challenges NIC is facing today?
Well, I think, again, our first challenge is the accreditation. And I think that challenge needs to be faced head on. I think we need to look at the recommendations of the accreditation body, and I think we need to keep our eye and our focus on meeting those challenges first. Because if that doesn't happen, then we have different problems. But after that, I think that we need to work together. It can't be one person's ideas. It can't be somebody's individual agenda. It needs to be a team, and the Board of Trustees needs to be a team. And that team needs to work with the faculty, the staff, they need to work with administration, and they need to look at those challenges and work together and not as individuals. And I think that will go a long way to restoring our accreditation first, but I think it will also go a long way to meeting any challenges if we can be open to new ideas and respect each other's opinions and work as a unit.
Thank you. Candidate Angeletta.
The question was the first thing, was that right?
What specific steps would you take to address the most critical challenges NIC is facing today?
Thank you. Well, I think everybody agrees here we have to deal with the accreditation status, and the way we do that is through good governance. I think we can all agree on that, and then the question becomes, well, what is good governance? I think you have to look at all the trustees, and you have to look at what values we're going to bring to the table and what experience we're going to bring to the table. And so good governance obviously means civil and civic dialogue, but how do you get there? And it starts with, as Mary mentioned, you got to listen. You don't come there with preconceived notions like you know it all. I'm going to be very humble and dumb to begin with and ask a lot of questions. But the goal is to understand all of the different key constituencies and what their needs, frustrations, and wants are. And I think in that spirit of listening and that spirit of humbleness, that's where you build trust, that's where you build good governance ultimately. And setting aside all the vitriol and all the politics that is surrounding the college, and there's a ton of it to go around, the finger pointing and the blame shifting needs to go. It needs to go. And I think this is a wonderful opportunity for a reset where we can first build a foundation of good governance, and then we can do all those other exciting things we've been talking about all night. So that's my priority, first and foremost, good governance.
Thank you. Candidate Lyons.
Not to sound like a broken record, but that's exactly what it is. Team effort and good governance. That's number one on the agenda to keep the growth going here. One common ideal is what we need as well. We listen to the community and the students, not just ourselves, not just one person's ideals, but listen to the community. I don't think that we've done enough of that. We hear about it in the paper. We see it a little bit maybe in the YouTubes and different things that come around, but I think we need to have a better ear for the community, who we're here to serve. That's really who we're there to serve first, is the community. Then comes everything else. So that's really what it is, good governance, and then making sure that we have a good listening attitude towards the futures of both the NIC as well as all of our the trades that we have in our underlying studies as well.
Thank you. Candidate Durbin.
I agree with everything that's been said thus far, but the first thing that I'm going to do is simply respectfully request that you vote for me and I win. It's that simple. And from there, we bring professionalism, respect, and unite the board and work together to address the current issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Knudsen.
Well, not to sound like a broken record, but I will. You know, the first thing that we have to do is address board governance. And I believe that that happens with a great degree of listening and seeking to understand everyone's point of view and working together as trustees, as working with the president who's working with his staff and faculty and students, and certainly working within the community. I think that we can have all of the benefits that we've been talking about tonight that would come to the college in terms of student outcomes, in terms of programs that we get to offer, in terms of affordability. I think it all starts with making sure that we have good governance and that we're listening to each other and working together.
Thank you. Candidate McKenzie.
Yeah, thank you. So what specific steps I'll do is I'll bring a willingness to work together and a promise not to do finger pointing and basically focus on my actions at each board meeting. And again, it goes to that sustainment of what we're saying, NWCCU, they're looking for sustainment beyond the election. But it gets to retaining accreditation, that's the biggest threat to NIC right now. And I'm all supportive of it. The board passed something in a statement, a statement in February of 2023. And then again, it's the number one, here I have the board priorities printed out. It's the number one board priorities is to retain accreditation. And that really gets down to alignment, whole alignment organization. That's president, that's the trustees, that's the staff, the students, and even the crowd. That's even been mentioned by some on-site visitors. And it gets back down to just general respect. And as somebody who I feel like hasn't been provided a lot of respect during my tenure at the Board of Trustees for various reasons, and I do think that I'm willing to give anyone who's elected up here the respect for that they're making the best decisions for North Idaho College. And as somebody who sat in the seat in executive session making the decisions, there's always logic and reasons to what the Board of Trustees are doing it. And we just may not share that out there with the community out of respect for individuals. So North Idaho College is a treasure, and each one of us is here because we care about our community, we care about our North Idaho College, and I think each one of us, I got the trust in each one of us elected officials that they're going to be making decisions down there at the Board of Trustees and in the best interest of taxpayer money and the mission, and that's what I think. Generally, respect for one another and respecting elections.
That concludes our 10 questions. Candidates, thank you for your responses. We will now move to the closing statements. Each candidate will have 1 minute for their closing statement. We will begin with candidate number 6, Michael Angeletta.
I thought I'd have 2 minutes, so here we go. My experience is results driven. I know business, I know results, I know transparency, and I also know education. I started an education company. I know a thing or two about the future for NIC as it relates to creating more affordable and accessible education in a larger region. the cultural values I bring to the table are exactly what I've said over and over again: transparency, accountability, humility, radical candor. I will be bringing that in full commitment to the Board of Trustees. I'll also say that the people, you know, I've heard some concerns in the community that, you know, there is a risk of the democratically elected board being taken away and then it's going to be appointed to bureaucrats. I will make a promise on the record that I'm fully committed to keeping the board a democratically elected institution and firmly committed to keeping the college the community's college. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Lyons.
I think what I'm promising is that I promise you that I bring a fresh look into the Board of Trustees. I will not pull the wool over your eyes. I'm new up here. I've only been in this territory for about 5.5 years, but it didn't take a rocket science to see what's happened here. So I will take, and I promise you that I will take my business knowledge of how I brought together different unions and different products into the largest companies in the Northwest, solving their problems, and then they go ahead and they produce and will buy from you. So I've never sold a thing. I'm trying to sell you me, but I don't have to. If I solve a problem, the rest will come. And that's exactly what I promise you I'll do. I will come here to be a problem solver and listen. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Durbin.
Well, you know, a minute's not enough. I'll need 2. No, I'm just kidding. Actually, so for me, it's simple. I have the business experience, the financial background, the education, but the reality is it's not about any of that. This isn't my resume. I am here to serve, and I'm here to serve with passion, and I'm here to make sure that we're retaining our fiduciary responsibility to do what's in the best interest of the students, the faculty, and the community. And so that's me. As a servant's heart, there's nothing more that I would rather do than have the opportunity to serve the college and sit on the Board of Trustees. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Knudsen.
Yeah, I never really thought that I would ever see myself in this position. I never thought in my wildest dreams that I would want to serve my community and my college as passionately as I do. I have experience locally with lots of boards and commissions. You know, I mentioned the Coeur d'Alene Area Economic Development Corporation, formerly known as Jobs Plus. I still serve on that board. I still continue to want to serve my community, and I am excited, like I never thought I would be, about the prospect of serving North Idaho College in the capacity of trustee. If you want to know more about me and my experience, you can follow me on Facebook at E4NIC or visit my website at e4nic.com.
Thank you. Candidate McKenzie.
Thank you for being here. Thanks for paying attention. Thanks for lasting through the end. As a trustee, it's been an honor to be your voice and to serve and advocate on behalf of taxpayers. As an elected official, I take my responsibility very seriously, and it's an oath that is not taken lightly. I'm a free-thinking, consistent elected official, and I feel like my track record speaks for that for itself during the COVID era. And I've always said to people, when I've been on the campaign trail, look, I'm willing to raise your taxes if NIC needs it, but I'm going to ask the tough questions on behalf of taxpayers. So I feel like that's one part of the many good things I've done at the North Idaho College by having taxes consistent for 4 years for the levy, and yet still the college has the highest fiscal reserves and is outputting amazing metrics at the college. So I'm standing for those who are unable to speak out themselves, and it's been an honor to serve. And whether I win or lose, I've been very thrilled leaving NIC in a better place than when I was elected.
Thank you. Candidate Havercroft.
Well, I would just like to say that in addition to my experience in education, my time with budgets, working with boards, working with accreditation on both sides of the table, I also have a vested interest in NIC. I have taught classes, co-taught classes at the college in previous years. My daughter took classes at the college to earn additional endorsement. My husband and I have lived here for 44 years. We are part of the community. We have friends and neighbors and relatives who have gone to the school. We have 3 children. We have 6 grandchildren. I think I've had the opportunity working here, and my time is up. Thank you for your time. I hope that I have a vote from you, and I appreciate that. And good night.
Thank you all for attending our candidates forum. Thank you to the candidates for participating tonight. And thank you to our moderators, North Idaho College Student Body President Joseph Moran and Vice President Blake Sanchez for leading this critical discussion. We also want to thank everyone in the audience and those watching online for your engagement in this vital democratic process. Special thanks to our presenting sponsors again, the Hagedorn Media Group, Coeur d'Alene Press, Northwest Specialty Hospital, and the Joint Public Policy Committee comprised of Coeur d'Alene, Post Falls, Hayden, and Rathdrum Chambers. Tonight's Town Hall Forum would not have been possible without their support. On behalf of our sponsors and North Idaho College, we emphasize the importance of making an informed decision in the upcoming election. Your vote matters and shapes the future of our educational institutions and communities. And please remember that we all have the ability to vote for all 3 zones on the 2024 ballot. We hope tonight's forum has provided valuable insight into each candidate's visions and priorities. And if you missed any part of tonight's discussion, a recording will be available tomorrow at the Coeur d'Alene cdapress.com. This year's Meet the Candidate interviews will be available at www.cdapress.com after October 3rd. Please take a moment to learn more about the candidates running for Kootenai County Sheriff and Kootenai County Commissioner, and several candidates vying for seats in the Idaho State House and Senate races. Thank you again, and remember your vote is the most potent tool to shaping the future. Have a great evening.